Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video will be my May wrap-up. So before we get into the video, I do have a few things that I wanted to talk about. So firstly, my last two videos were already scheduled, so I wasn't able to publicly talk about what is currently happening in America. I guess I just wanted to say that I support you and I stand with you. And over the last week and a half, I have definitely learned a lot. It's also made me look and think more about the racism in Canada as well. I really am going to try to do better in general, but also with my reading. I will link some sources down below where you can help sign petitions and donate and just other information. And if you can't donate money, I will also link a thread of YouTube videos that you can just watch. All of the ads made from those videos will be donated. So I think that's a really great thing to do. So if you can't afford to donate money, I highly recommend watching those videos. I also wanted to say a big thank you because I hit 8K and I can't believe I have 8,000 subscribers. I am so happy and grateful and I just can't believe it. Like I'm so grateful. So thank you so much for all of the support and for subscribing and commenting and interacting with me. I am so happy and lucky and just a big thank you. And one more thing before we get into the wrap-up. I'm not doing an on-topic video this month. I just honestly don't really have much news to talk about. I also just want to have a little bit of a break from doing on-topic videos because they are kind of a little bit repetitive for me. I love doing them, but I just think I want to skip one month and I will get back to it next month. But I just wanted to let you know that there will be no on-topic video this month. Okay, so now let's get into the wrap-up. I read a total of 24 books, and 8 of them were physical copies, 16 were ebooks. I had 1 ARC and 1 reread. I had a pretty good reading month, especially the beginning of the month was really good for me. It kind of went downhill towards the end, but overall I'm happy with 24 books, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start talking about them. The first book I read was Barbarian's Treasure by Ruby Dixon. This is book 18 in the Ice Planet Barbarian series. It's like a 4 stars, alien, paranormal sci-fi romance. It's super smutty. I really love this series. I've talked about it a lot on my channel, and this was the newest one in the series. I loved it. It was great. Then I read Crave by Tracy Wolff. This I gave 4 out of 5 stars. It's kind of like 3.5, 4-ish. This is a YA paranormal romance. Our female character Grace, who has recently lost her parents, and she ends up going to live with her uncle who owns like this boarding school. And so she's gonna go to school there. Turns out there is more to that school than she knows, and there's more to her family that she doesn't know. And it's basically a school for like paranormal creatures. I really enjoyed this. I loved the romance. Grace and Jackson were fantastic characters, and I'm so excited for the second book. It did have like kind of the classic YA paranormal vibes. It definitely felt like nostalgic, but it still, in my opinion, added something new to the genre, I guess. And I just really enjoyed the characters. Overall, I really enjoyed it, and I'm definitely going to pick up the second book, so I thought it was a pretty good YA paranormal. Then I read Unforgettable by Melanie Harlow. This is book 5 in the Cloverleaf Farms series. This is the final book. This book I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I really loved it. I wasn't really far into it, and I was already like crying. So this follows April, who you see in the other books, and she had a baby when she was really young and gave it up for adoption. The father of her child wasn't really in her life and kind of signed away everything, and they never really spoke about it. It's now a couple of years later. April and Tyler are reunited because his sister is getting married, so he's back in the small town and he runs into April, and he is also like this famous baseball player, but he's had a rough time in his career. This book is just about them talking about their past and rekindling their friendship, which turns to more, and it's just such a beautiful book. I really loved it. I'm so sad this series is over. Then I read Stone Princess by Devney Perry. This is book 3 in the Tin Gypsy series. This I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I was really disappointed with this one. I just didn't like any of the characters or the romance. I didn't like the male character. I also didn't like the storyline. This series follows like this small town, and it's kind of like a romance suspense. And this specific one follows our female character who was left at the altar on her wedding day. She's kind of getting over that, and our male character is an actor who comes to town who wants to film this movie about one of the murders that happened in that town. There was something about it I didn't really like. I just felt like the male character didn't care that much about how the town felt about the movie. I wasn't really sold on the romance. I realize I'm kind of picky about famous people in romance books. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't, and in this case it just didn't. Then I read Dominic by SAWYER Bennett. This is book 6 in the Arizona Vengeance series. This I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I started this when it came out and I couldn't really get into it, but I had an arc for the next book, so I was like, I have to finish this. This series is about a whole hockey team, but this specific one follows the owner of the team, and he falls in love with one of his players' sister. They kind of have like an enemies to lovers, friends with benefits thing. They both have like more feelings for each other, but they both are super stubborn and don't want to admit it. Normally I would like the kind of character that Dominic is, but I don't know, there was something about him I didn't really love, and same with Willow. I don't know, I can't explain why I didn't love this book that much. I just felt like it was kind of average. Then I read the 7th book, which is Wild. This I had an arc of from the author and her team. This one I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This one was really cute, really sweet. It follows one of the newer players on the team, and he's kind of a playboy. He has no interest in settling down until he meets this interesting bookstore owner. She's not easily charmed by this playboy. It's super cute, super sweet. They build like this friendship. I just really love reading about playboys who change their ways for their new love. It just is super sweet. So I really enjoyed this one. Then I read Love the One You Hate by R.S. Gray. This I gave 3.5 out of 5 stars. This just really didn't work for me. I feel like there wasn't enough romance. I feel like the romance was definitely on the back burner, and it was more about the female character growing, which is fine, but it wasn't what I wanted. This follows our female character who doesn't have the best record, and she is working at this old folks home, I think, or a home for like seniors. She gets approached by this successful, rich, well-known woman who essentially wants her to come work for her and be her like personal assistant. Upon getting there, our female character meets our male character who immediately hates her on sight and thinks that she's a gold digger and assumes all of these things, and they just really clash in the beginning. I think this one just didn't have enough hate or enough angst, and the characters just weren't anything special, and I'm just really disappointed in this one, I guess. Then I read Imagine Me by Tara Mafi. This is book 6 in the Shatter Me series, and this is hopefully the last book. This I gave 3 out of 5 stars. This, honestly, I just think is a mess, and it was just kind of weird. Like, I don't really know. There was nothing new. There was nothing that really changed. I just felt like there was no character development. All the storylines were ended so abruptly and so randomly. It just felt like this book was really underdeveloped and nothing really new came from it. Sadly, this just did not do it for me. Then I read the Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez. This I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This was really cute and really sweet. So I guess if you haven't read The Friend Zone, this might be a little bit of a spoiler, but this follows Sloane, who lost her fiance, and she is still dealing with that, and I think it's been 2 years. One day she ends up almost hitting this dog in the street, and this dog jumps into her car and ends up taking the dog home and tries to contact the owner. She eventually contacts the owner, and they start messaging each other and decide that they're gonna meet up when he is back in town, and turns out he's a musician, and it's just really cute, really sweet. I did feel like it was a little long, but other than that, I really loved it. Then I continued a series, and that is the Girl Meets Duke series by Tessa Dare. So I read book 2, which is the Governess Game. This one I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This was so cute. I've realized I love children and kids in books. Like, I just think it's so adorable. So this follows Chase, who is a guardian to these 2 young girls, and he essentially needs somebody to help take care of the girls, and he ends up asking our female character, and she is not really prepared to help take care of these young girls, but she decides to do it because she wants to help him and feels like these girls need proper love and care. Alex and Chase are both super attracted to each other, but Chase is, you know, kind of a playboy, and he isn't in it for attachments, and they slowly kind of form like this family. It's just super cute. I really loved it. I feel like I'm not explaining it the best, but it was just really good. Then I did read the next one, which is the Wallflower Wager, and this I gave also 3 out of 5 stars, but it's more like a 3.5. I did like it, but I didn't love it as much as book 2. So this follows Penelope, who owns a lot of animals. Whenever she sees an animal in need, she just takes care of it, and she essentially adopts it. One day she gets this new neighbor who is kind of fed up with all of the pets and asks her to get rid of them all. Then there becomes like an ultimatum from her family, and so she decides that she is going to try to search for homes for all of her pets. Our male character, who is her new neighbor, decides to also help her with that. It was really cute. I just didn't really like all of like the animal stuff for some reason. It just didn't really work for me, and I found that the plot wasn't my favorite. But the characters were great, and the romance was pretty cute. I also do feel like the romance was very slow burn, which is something I didn't really love that much, but still really great, and I love this series, and I cannot wait for the next one. Then I read A Secret for a Secret by Helena Hunting. This is book 3 in the All In series, and this I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This was another solid hockey romance. This follows a goalie of the team, and he's kind of like a goody two-shoes. He follows the rules. He's not wild at all. He is just really a good guy. And the one night that he gets drunk and hooks up with somebody, it turns out to be the general manager's daughter. She is starting to help out with the team, so they start seeing a lot of one another, and it's just super cute, and I loved both characters, and I just thought it was fantastic. Then I read Beach Read by Emily Henry, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. So this follows January, who is dealing with the death of her dad and everything that kind of happened after that. She is also a successful writer and author, and she has been struggling to write recently, so she decides to go to her dad's like summer house or beach house, and she kind of gets on the wrong foot with her neighbor, who she recognizes from college, and he is also a writer, and they kind of clashed back in college, so they still really are not nice to one another at first, and they both kind of decide to challenge each other to write opposite endings of what like they normally write. It was cute, but I think I expected different things from this book. I thought it was going to be super cute and light. I thought there was going to be a little bit more hate to love, but that ended very quickly. And then they just became friends, and then it kind of became like friends to lovers. I just think I was kind of thrown off with all of like the emotional and heavy things, and I felt like it didn't really balance out for me. The whole storyline about January and her dad, I really loved. That was something I was interested in, but the romance just didn't work for me. I don't know, I feel like I keep reading these romance books and I'm like, there is not enough romance. And I guess that's how I felt with this. I guess it just wasn't what I expected, and I didn't end up loving it as much as I had hoped. Then I read Sure Shots by Serena Bowen. This is book 4 in the Brooklyn series, or Brooklyn Bruiser series. It's like the 7th or something. I don't know. This series is really confusing. They're all kind of connected, but this I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I don't know. I just didn't really love this. This is another hockey romance. This follows our female character who turns 30 and she just kind of realizes that her biological clock is ticking and she definitely wants to settle down within the next 5 years and have children and get married and all of that stuff. So she's definitely keeping that in mind and trying to go forward with that plan. And she's also a sports agent and she works with a lot of the Brooklyn Bruisers team. And we have a new player on the team, Tank, who was traded from another team, and he's kind of having a rough time. He recently got divorced. He bumps into our female character, Bess, and they actually had a thing years ago. Obviously, he is not looking for anything serious, and she is, but they keep remembering the past, so they decide to take things slow, but there's a few obstacles in the way. It was cute, but nothing super special. Then I binged a 4-book series, and that is the Slay Quartet series by LAURELIN PAIGE. First book is Rivalry, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. Book 2 is Ruin, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. Revenge is book 3, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. And then the final book, Rising, I also gave 4 out of 5 stars. I didn't realize how connected it was to LAURELIN's other books, like her Fixed series and one of her standalones, Chandler. I knew who this book was about, but I didn't realize it would be that intertwined. So if you've read LAURELIN's Fixed series, you probably remember Celia. She was kind of a villain in those books, and this is her story. She is kind of trying to figure out what she wants out of life and what her next steps are. And she ends up getting wrapped up in this powerful, dominant man named Edward, who is essentially her father's rival. It's pretty dark. It's very erotic. It is pretty much what LAURELIN does best, in my opinion. And I really love this series. It was just what I needed in the moment. Very like emotionally draining, which are kind of my favorite books. So many highs and lows and twists and turns. I just really loved Edward, but I also wanted to kill him at some moments as well. Overall, really enjoyed this series, and I'm happy I finally read it. Then I binged 3 books in a series, and that is the Royal Elite series by Rena Kent. I just read the first 3 books, which follow the same 2 main characters. So the first book is Deviant King, and this I gave 4 out of 5 stars. Book 2 is Steel Princess, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. And then Twisted Kingdom, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. So this is a high school bully romance. It's pretty dark, pretty twisted. So this follows Elsa, who is new to this school sort of, and she is deemed like this ice princess. She definitely stands up for herself a lot, but she definitely gets bullied by the school overall and by our male character Aiden, who kind of rules the school, and he comes from a very rich family. He essentially becomes obsessed with Elsa, and he is like super possessive over her, and that's an aspect I loved about this book. I feel like often because a lot of bully romances are reverse harem, I don't really like them. I like this type of bully romance where our male character is like completely devoted to the female character even though he's bullying her. And he also like wasn't that much of like a playboy either, which is something I really enjoyed. So I don't know, I just really liked these characters. In the first, I feel like 2 books, there wasn't a lot of family drama, which I really appreciate because that's something I dislike in bully romances, is when like family gets involved and then there's lots of like family secrets and family drama, and sometimes I just don't care. Luckily that wasn't super heavy in book 1 and book 2, but in book 3 it was, and I just didn't like the direction that book 3 went into, so unfortunately it like wasn't my favorite. My favorite is definitely book 1. Like I feel like that one was really, really good and I really enjoyed it. Then I read Bound by the Past by Cora Riley. This is the final book in the Born in Blood Mafia Chronicles series. This I gave 4 out of 5 stars. It's not my favorite, but I really loved it. I feel like because it repeats a lot of the same things that happened in all of the books, but it's all of like Dante and Valentina's point of view, so like about all of the things that happened in the previous books. Even though I love them, I do feel like it was really repetitive. It was also great to see Valentina grow and to see her have like more of an important role in Dante's life, but also in the business side of things as well. And yeah, I loved also learning about Dante and his beginning, I guess, and what he did for the people that he loved. And it was great to see them as parents, and it was just, overall I really loved it, and I'm so excited for the spinoff. Then I read From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This is a new adult paranormal fantasy, urban fantasy, I guess. This book is super complicated in my opinion, and I feel like I don't fully understand how it works or like what is fully going on. So this follows our female character, Poppy, who is chosen from birth to be a maiden, which essentially is to be like this pure person to kind of symbolize the gods, and she's waiting for her ascension. When you ascend, you become like a god type figure, or like you work for the gods. I don't really understand like that technicality. I feel like it was kind of complicated. I don't know, I don't do good with fantasy in general, even if this is like a basic fantasy. But Poppy she's not really that pure and innocent. She secretly trains. She secretly does things that the gods and the royals would not approve of and would deem her unworthy. And then there's like lots of murders that are starting to happen that are threatening her ascension. It's like done by like these creatures that are described basically as vampires, and like that there's these like super bad vampires who just like kill, and then there's like another type that are more like human-like. And then our female character meets Hawk, who essentially becomes her new personal guard. Because I don't fully love fantasy that much anymore, it definitely was hard for me to get into it, and I definitely wasn't into it till like 150 pages in. I also do feel like everything that happened didn't really shock me or didn't really surprise me. There are a couple of plot twists in here that I definitely saw. I did love the romance, and I definitely cried when somebody died. Definitely will pick up the second book, because even though I wasn't too keen on the fantasy elements, I definitely want to see where the characters go in the next book. And then the last book I read in May was a reread, and that was Gabriel's Inferno by Sylvain Renard. This I gave 4 out of 5 stars. This I have read 3 times. I will link my video where I reread this book and then I watch the Passionflix adaptation. I did a whole video on it, so I'll link it down below if you are curious for more of my in-depth thoughts about this book. I really love this book and this series, and I feel like I talk about it a lot on my channel. I just truly love Gabriel and Julia so much. So Julia is kind of this shy, sweet, and innocent girl, and she enrolls in this new university. She ends up having a rough interaction with her professor, Gabriel, and he is extremely rude and mean to her. Gabriel is really intrigued by Julia, and turns out they kind of have like this mysterious connection, and it just follows Julia and Gabriel kind of having this forbidden love. I'm really not explaining this book well and not giving it justice, but I just really love this book, and I'm really happy I got to reread it and watch the movie. So that is it for my May wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know how many books you read in May. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, follow me on all my other social media, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!